Charlie Sheen. Podcast on a Plane Productions presents Joe Rogan and the great Tom Segura on the way to Dallas en route to Louisville. Woo woo! Yeah, we're sitting here. Obviously first class, winning 5A and B.
On our way to Mars.
On our way to be rock stars from frickin' Mars. And we are on our way to do a show at the Louisville Improv on Wednesday. By the time you get this, it'll probably be already over. Whatever, bitches. Sold out anyway. Holla! Score winning. We're just starting to feel the edible. Right about kicking in now, eh, Tommy?
Creep. It's creeping on up from behind.
Yeah. It's a nervous feeling the first time you ever do the breast trip on the plane, or a cookie, or whatever. The first time that I dosed you up, where were we headed to?
Dude, we were headed to Tampa. We were going to Tampa, and you were like, yeah, you'll like it. Here, take a little bit. And I was gripping onto the fucking armrest, thinking about all the fucked up things I've done in my life. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just a bad person. And I was ready to cry.
It's a real psychic cleaning.
Yeah.
You know, it really does open up your psychic closet and just start pulling shit out and dusting it off. You know, a real good pot brownie. You know, I was listening to Terrence McKenna talk about eating pot, that, you know, a lot of the early Hindu texts, you know, dealt with eating marijuana, and that, you know, that, like, for a lot of them, like, that was like a really psychedelic experience, like just as psychedelic as mushrooms. You just got to eat it. You got to eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
People don't realize, man, if you're not used to it, eating marijuana, we've talked about this on the podcast 100 times, but for people who haven't heard this, it creates a totally different chemical when you eat it called 11-hydroxymetabolite when it's processed by your liver, and it's 4 to 5 times more psychoactive than THC. It's a way stronger drug. So, but it's perfect for a plane. That's what it is. It's like, look, you're vulnerable. You're in the seat. You're not going anywhere. You're in the space. You're 30,000 feet above the earth. You know, if something goes wrong, you're fucked. So you feel that vulnerability too. And then when you get hit with that pot edible, oh goodness!
Especially if you're not expecting it. Like if you're just not. When it's a surprise, it's a new ride, man. Like when you're just like, oh, this will just be like any other time. It's not. But when you're like, you don't know what's gonna happen, that shit straight up grabs you by the chest and is like, I'm fucking here. Like it scares you a little bit. I was terrified. I really was freaking out. But when it was over, I actually did think like that was a good thing that just happened.
Yes. I always feel like that. After the hardest, craziest, strangest trips where I get the most scared and I feel the most shitty about my life or about things I've done. Sometimes it's things I've done when I was like 13.
Sure.
God damn
really
it.
Old stuff.
Yeah,
really
why am I still dwelling on this? I'm not doing that anymore.
It's in the drawer somewhere in there.
Yeah, you got to clean it out. But these experiences, these plain, you know, anytime you eat pot, really, but you don't have to do it on a plane. I mean, pot doesn't give a shit where you are. If you eat a really strong brownie, it'll really like expose you to your vulnerabilities. You'll feel all fleshy and you feel like real soft and easy to break.
Yes,
you know,
extremely fragile.
Yeah,
like shaken fragile. Like you just saw a fire or something, and there was animals inside, and you're traumatized. It's like that
because it's so fucked up. In Amsterdam, they stopped selling brownies and cookies and shit at the coffee shops.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Too many people get fucked up, man. They can't handle it. They stopped making mushrooms legal there too, unfortunately. But pot and brownies are just as bad, man.
You know what it's like? It's kind of like somebody calling you out on your shit for something that you did do, like right. So you don't have
and you didn't expect them to call you out on it.
Yeah, and then you know, like how that feels. Like when that's happened to me, you feel that in your core.
Yeah,
it's kind of an awful feeling.
Yeah,
but then it's also after the awful feeling comes relief.
Yes,
where you're like, well, now it's out there. The thing that I was worried about.
Right.
At least it's out there.
Right. Yeah, it's cleansing.
Yeah, it is like a cleansing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, people have this ability to block out certain parts of their behavior and personality, and you know, that's why idiots. You know, that's why we love calling people. We were just making fun of Steve Harvey on the way up here. He's so full of shit.
Yeah.
And not just full of shit, but hilariously stupid. Like, some of the shit that he says is just so dumb that I save his tweets. And we were just reading them. And then we watched Cat Williams dissect him. Cat Williams did a show with him and just destroyed him. And, you know, well, what's funny about that is because, you know, Steve Harvey doesn't check himself. Steve Harvey really thinks he's a bad motherfucker. He really thinks he's amazing.
He thinks he's a messiah.
Yeah. I see him, he goes on religious channels, and I watch those videos of him on, like, the Televangelist or the Trinity Broadcast Network, that's what it is, TBN. He actually did a comedy special for TBN.
That's got to be great.
That's got to be the best ever.
Definitely.
You need God in your life. You ain't got God in your life, you a silly person.
Special. Really going to be moving in so many ways.
How much would you love to give Steve Harvey a big fat pot brownie and just watch him cry?
That would be the most amazing thing ever.
It'd be incredible.
Yeah, I would love to.
He was on the Trinity Broadcast Network talking about people who don't believe in God. I mean, you don't believe in God. You're silly. I ain't got nothing to say to you. You're silly.
Great bit.
Yeah.
Wow. That's how I feel about everything that Steve Harvey says on stage. None of it's actually even a joke. Like his special that I saw it on like TV. Like I think it was about a year ago, where he would just recap news stories, and that was the bit. Like he was just reading headlines, you know, like the lady driving across Texas wearing her diaper. He just said, "Can you believe this woman drove across Texas in a diaper?" And then shook his head like, "Hell no."
That's the whole bit.
And then like the audience would fall out of their seat, and he was like, on to the next story. Then I read a story about a man, and you're like, what the fuck happened with the other?
When I first saw him in 1994 when I was doing the Montreal Comedy Festival, and he was as well. And he went on stage, and I was like, this guy should be paying Richard Pryor 50% of everything he makes. Because he was like doing a Pryor impression on stage. He was doing Richard Pryor on stage.
Everybody was like...
They didn't, you know, look, first of all, he's black, they're Canadian, they're going to be nice, you know, but I was watching and I was like, wow, I was like, this guy, like a fucking, he's like sort of like, not a cover band, but like a guy doing an AC/DC impression that's singing his own songs, you know?
You see that a lot. So I think in every generation, right, you see...
Yes.
Somebody doing...
You see a few Attels. You know, it's always the early guys. I did that a bunch of times where I had to catch myself when I was starting out. When I was an open micer, I caught myself on stage. I'll never forget. I was sounding exactly like Richard Jeni. Like
really?
I was doing his rhythm, his cadence, and I was a Richard Jeni fan. So it kind of made sense. But I was like, wow, like this is gross. Like I'm hearing myself sounding just like him, you know?
Would people say it to you, too? Would they be
no,
like,
nobody said it to me. I've heard people said to me Sam Kinison when I was starting out, too, which I definitely was influenced by him, too. But, you know, when I first saw Bill Hicks, he was, like, doing Sam Kinison to the point where I was, like, uncomfortable with it. He was, like, doing the noises that Sam makes and talking like Sam.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he was really influenced by Kinison as well. And Kinison was fucking huge at the time. And Hicks was really just starting to be known in the comedy world. I mean, he never really got huge in mainstream in America. You know, even to this day, you say Bill Hicks and, you know, only the cool insiders know who he is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like saying Bill Cosby or something.
No.
But back then, he was really, really unknown. And I went to see him at the Comedy Connection, and it was a really small crowd. And, you know, he was doing Kinison, man. I mean, for real. Parts of his act were like, you know, he was doing that, he's a demon, he's a demon. Like,
that was Sam.
Yeah, it was like Sam. He was like doing Sam. You know, but that's normal, you know. Comics are influenced by other comics. I've taken guys on the road with me, too, and saw them starting to talk like me and sound like me, which is real weird, yeah. Yeah, it's normal, man. It's normal, you know. They'll see somebody crushing, and then they'll sort of imitate the crushing, you know. Like, Mencia did that with me. That was one of the first things, like, Mencia never really stole any of my jokes because he knew I would fucking slap him, but he used to steal them on the road. I used to hear stories on the road about him stealing them, but he never stole anything in front of me in town. But what he did start doing is delivering jokes like me. Like, he was sounding like me. Like, his cadence, and I was like, this motherfucker is like, it's like, that was the only time it ever bothered me. Other times I've seen people do it, and I was like, wow, it's kind of a compliment, someone sounds like me, But I think it's normal, because comedy it's such a weird thing to learn anyway. It's like your speech and your cadence on stage is kind of affected. It's kind of like you're putting on a different sort of a pattern of talking so that you could get your comedy across better.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you see someone who does it and it's really effective, you automatically sort of like internalize that.
You know, I used to